Okay, for all practical purposes, we're done with the dinim of building a sukkah. There's a lot of other dinim we need to know, and it's only 3 nights left. So number one, as far as Erev Sukkot goes, so Erev Sukkot, number one, it says in halacha that people should give extra tzedakah, because just like there's a concept by Pesach called Moyes Chitim, to give money for the poor, because the expenses of Pesach are very high, matzah, all the stuff. So the same thing to Pri Chodesh writes, and the Rebbe emphasized this many times, that people should also give money to the poor for Sukkot. Sukkot is also expensive, lulav and esrog and food and the Yom Tiv. I mean, it's very expensive, so people should try to help out poor people that need the money.
Etrog is $300.
No, so?
Is it expensive?
That's cheap.
That's cheap.
Yeah. Okay, anyway, Erev Sukkot, which this year is Wednesday, okay? If your hair is long, you're supposed to take a haircut. If you're supposed to cut your nails, you go into the Yom Tiv looking proper. Now this year, again, just like we did Rosh Hashanah, you have to remember again to do an Erev Tafshilin. Because again, Yom Tiv is Thursday, Friday, going into Shabbos. So in order to be able to cook on Friday for Shabbos, so then you need to make an Erev Tafshilin. In fact, somebody interesting called me today. They asked me if they could, with the Erev Tafshilin, if they can start cooking on Thursday, the first day Yom Tiv for Shabbos. That you're not allowed to do. It has to be either late Thursday night or Shabbos Friday morning. Then you can cook one.
If someone didn't eat their Erev Tafshilin, the last one, can they use it again?
You can use it again. It's still ready to eat food.
What was the question? They asked you if you could do Erev Tafshilin?
No, if they can make an Erev Tafshilin before Yom Tiv, but normally that allows you to cook on Friday for Shabbos. They wanted to know if they could put up a 24-hour cholent on Thursday afternoon to eat Friday night. And that they can do, because Erev Tafshilin only helps from Friday for Shabbos. Okay, there's a lot to cover. Let's not get sidetracked. Okay, also you have to make sure that the sukkah is ready to go. You have to light, if you have a sukkah, you have to make sure the lights are working and everything is in there, because the Yom Tov, you can't put in lights and you can't turn on the lights, and you have to just make sure that everything is in the sukkah in the proper way. Now, Sukkah's night, okay, Ma'ariv is Ma'ariv l'shalosh regalim with, that's it basically. But by candle lighting, the women make Shaladik and Yom Tov and Shechiyanu, both nights. But ideally, a woman should light the Yom Tov candles in the sukkah, because that's where you're eating. That's where the Yom Tov, the candles should be lit. Now the difference is, Yom Tov, let's say you lit in the sukkah, so Yom Tov, when you finish eating, candles on Yom Tov are not muktzah, because you can light them, so obviously they're not muktzah. So after eating, you're allowed to bring, let's say you have a tray with the candles on it, you could bring the tray back into the house. But Shabbos, you're not allowed to do it, because Shabbos, the candles are completely muktzah. You can't move them for any reason whatsoever. So even after the candles are out, you still can't move the tray back into the house, because the whole tray became muktzah. And there is a leniency that the Alter Rebbe doesn't hold of, and that is if you put, let's say, a piece of challah or a siddur. Siddur is another question. You're using a siddur to, using it for a non-holy thing. But let's say you want to put a challah on the tray. So there are opinions that hold, while the candles are burning, for sure Shabbos, you cannot bring them back in. But let's say let's say this is the tray with the candles, okay? And the candles are in the middle. So what happens if you put, let's say, challah on the tray? So then, technically, it's a base of muktzah, non-muktzah. So technically, there are opinions that hold, then you could bring the tray back into the house even on Shabbos, because the tray, which is a base, is now a base for muktzah, non-muktzah, and the non-muktzah right now is more valuable to you than the muktzah. Whatever, we're not learning muktzah now. So then you would be allowed to carry it back into the house, but the Alter Rebbe doesn't hold like that. The Alter Rebbe holds the tray is not made to put a... No, you have to make sure the candles are not lit. So if somebody, let's say, Friday, let's say you have a very expensive candelabra, right? You don't want to leave it in the sukkah overnight, Friday night, because who knows, the coyotes might get to it in Beverly Hills. So then what people do, they'll light a cheaper candelabra, just tea lights or whatever it is. Those are things you have to just keep in mind. So you have to make sure Erev Tavshilin, you have to make sure the sukkah is ready to go, and so on. Now Erev Sukkot in the afternoon, it's brought down in halacha, you shouldn't eat a lot. Why? Just like Erev Pesach, the Gemara says you shouldn't eat a lot, that when you eat the matzah, if you're full and you eat matzah, you don't get the pleasure from it. So it's the same thing with Sukkah, because there's a biblical obligation the first night of Sukkah to eat in the Sukkah, to have at least the kezayis of challah in the Sukkah. So therefore, it says in Allah, you shouldn't eat too much out of Sukkot, especially after mincha time, which is questionable which mincha they're talking about. But after mincha time, you shouldn't eat too much food, that you should be able to be hungry, that when you eat the challah in the sukkah, you're ready to go, and you enjoy it. Another thing which is important to know, you're not allowed to fulfill the mitzvah of sukkah until after nightfall. Now, even though Yom Tov you could bring early, technically the Yom Tov of Sukkot you could bring in, like you bring in Shabbos early, but you can't eat in the sukkah until nighttime. Mamish Tseisa Kochavim, which is in California these days, you have to count at least 30 minutes after sundown. At least 30 minutes after sundown, then you're allowed to make Kiddush. It's interesting, there's a lot of dinim we learn out Pesach from Sukkot and Sukkot from Pesach. The Gemara says there's a Gzeira Shava, meaning similar words. By Pesach it says Chamisha Asar, 15, and by Sukkot it says Chamisha Asar. Okay? Which means there's a connection. The Gemara learns out there's a connection. So by Matzah, the Torah says Balayla. V'echlos HaMatzah is Balayla. So because Pesach has to be at night, the Matzah, so the Gemara learns out Sukkah, the mitzvah Sukkah also has to be, again, not Yom Tov you can bring in earlier, but to eat the kezayis challah or bread or whatever it is, or matzah, you have to eat it. One second, you have to eat it after midnight. After nightfall. So in fact, the Gemara asks. The Gemara asks, in fact, in Pesachim. So if that's the case, then we should eat in the sukkah on Pesach, and we should eat matzah on Sukkot, because if we're likening Pesach to Sukkot. But the Gemara learns out from Psukim that those know. Pesach is Pesach and Sukkot is Sukkot, but another dinim, we learn out Pesach from Sukkot. What?
What happens if your host is saying Kiddush that they hold earlier?
What do you mean they hold earlier?
They're saying Kiddush before Tzitz Kochavim.
You're not yoytze the mitzvah, you have to make Kiddush after, you're not yoytze. If somebody eats a kezayis of challah before Tzitz Kochavim, then didn't do the mitzvah.
But they hold that they're allowed to. So you have a guess.
They hold from Plaga Mincha, you mean?
Yeah.
Not everybody holds that, even by the Tzvadim. Not true.
So you don't go, so you just say...
No. But...
Daniel, it's not simple.
But shh.
What if somebody still has their
Somebody asked that before you rolled in. Yeah.
Why didn't you answer?
Oh, you don't even know that answer. In yeshiva, kids ask a question in the Gemara, so the Rebbe tells them, the Tosfos asks the question. They don't even need any more the answer. Oh, somebody else asked the question, good enough. I don't need the answer. They tell an interesting story. I don't know if we're going off. But there was a rich man that was looking for a chassan, a son-in-law for his daughter, a chassan for his daughter. And he was a very big Talmud Chacham, this rich man. So he had a question in learning that he had. And he went around to the yeshivas and he said, whoever answers this question, he's going to give his daughter as a wife. He went to all the yeshivas, he asked the question, nobody was able to answer it. He went to yeshiva, nobody answered it. Finally, he went to yeshiva, to a certain yeshiva, and he asked the question, again, nobody answered it. So when he left, he was leaving, a bach in the yeshiva chased him. And he said, but what's the answer? What's the answer? So he said, you're going to marry my daughter. Now, you can ask a question, but you have to be interested in the answer.
This never happens to me.
Huh? It happens to you? Okay.
This never happens to me.
Fine. Okay. So now, yeah, well, you can still use it. No mitzvah, still, what?
If somebody preserved the esrog from last year somehow, can you use that?
Al pidin, if the esrog is still good, which is very rare, then it should be muhudir. Al pidin, it's kosher, but it's not muhudir. In other words, if somebody only has an esrog, let's say that they preserved from last year. So then al pidin, they can use it and make a bracha on it, but it's not muhudir again. What? What? Why not? Yeah, you make a bracha. What happens if somebody didn't eat the Erev? Let's speak very simple. If somebody didn't eat the Erev Tavshilin, yeah? The Erev Tavshilin was kosher?
Yes.
Okay. So now you have a challah. Why can't you use it again? So you make a bracha on it again. Huh? What?
Do we hold that you can't say that Shabbat Sukkot if you bring pots and pans into the Sukkot?
It says in halacha, because the sukkah is holy, so you shouldn't bring in like garbage cans into the sukkah. So like Shulchan Aruch, it says you shouldn't bring pots into the sukkah. In fact, they write what happens if you're eating from the pot. So then you could. Listen, years ago, people were very poor. They didn't have dishes, and they would eat from the pot.
I heard you have to put in dishes.
Yeah, again, but the reason is like now that they bring down dirty dishes, you shouldn't leave around in the sukkah. You know, you should take them out. You shouldn't leave them overnight in the sukkah, dirty dishes. Disrespectful. You don't bring a garbage can into the sukkah. What?
Pop-up sukkahs and they have that are like single use, single person use. You take them down, put them back up during Yom Tov, not Yom Tov, during Kol Is there any issues with that?
The pop-up sukkah is Bechlal. Even if you read the instructions on the pop-up sukkahs, are very, very problematic. Because it doesn't hold up in Ruach Mitzuya, it doesn't hold up in a normal wind. Those things are very, very, they say you have to tie it down, 10 different ways you have to tie it down to make sure the sukkah doesn't move. Now you can have a sukkah mobile on the back of a pickup truck, which Chabad does always. So then, but over there the walls are firm. The walls are firm. And then there are opinions, we don't hold like that, but there are opinions in halacha that while the sukkah mobile is moving, you shouldn't eat. It's not the kosher the sukkah while it's moving. But most poskim disagree with that. Mamish in halacha, that most poskim disagree, and you can make a bracha even while you're traveling in the sukkah mobile. But in this portable sukkahs are very, very complex because they're movable. They just move around. So you have to. Now you're allowed to make a sukkah during Chol Hamoed. Can't make a sukkah on Yom Tov, obviously. But Chol Hamoed, you can put up a sukkah, take down a sukkah, whatever.
What do you do if like the wind is strong enough and it blows the scarpboard? It just moves it enough so now you can see more of the sky than you should, or it's not covering.
Well, then you can ask a guy to fix it. You can't fix it yourself. No, because then you're making a tent. There was 1 year in New York. Bechlal, New York is not like California. Our problem is it's too hot in the sukkah. In New York, there was 1 year when I was a bacher still. There was 1 year that sukkahs, first of all, it rained 8 days straight. Mamish 8 days non-stop. And they asked the Rebbe was the man to verbring. The Rebbe said, how can you verbring? So the Rebbe said, spoke a whole answer from the Rebbe. It's very interesting. You already did sukkah, whatever. There were Chassidim verbringing in 770, Remendel Futterfass, others, and the sukkah was right outside the window. So when they wanted to say l'chaim, by us we don't even drink water outside of a sukkah, even if it's pouring rain. We just don't drink, eat anything out of a sukkah. So they would say l'chaim, he would stick his head out of the, he'd be sitting by the window, and he would be sticking most of his head and body, Reishi Berubei. I remember I was there those years. Out of the sukkah, into the sukkah, and they would say l'chaim, and then they would come back and
Can you use an umbrella in the sukkah?
yeah, we'll get to that later. There is a possible way, depends how high up it is.
So you can see going to come and fix the sukkah on
On Yom Tov, you can ask a guy to fix the sukkah. I do not.
right.
But anyway, there was that year, another year. And again, Crown Ice, in New York, they don't build canvas sukkahs, because in that weather, it's freezing, it doesn't hold. They build proper walls. That year, half of the sukkahs in Brooklyn, not only in Crown Ice, half of the sukkahs in Brooklyn actually blew apart. On Yom Tov. So everybody was crowding into those lucky people that had the sukkah still standing. They were actually, everybody was eating in everybody else's sukkah. But it was very nice.